Podcast here in the Citizen. This is always a funny bit. Like counting and clapping. Priatelia, vitajte. A opäť raz toto bude posledná vec, čo poviem po slovensky. Dear friends, so welcome at our 29th episode. But it's the second one which will be done in English again, fully. Okay? So please, if you are not able to understand this, learn some English, okay? We will try to do our best, but probably for English speakers, they will be like raping the language.
Put the comments down in the below. You know?
Yeah. We'll definitely read them. Why English? Because we have English-speaking guest, Bak, welcome.
Hey, thank you guys.
With me, for those who are only listening, is also Marek here. And
Hi,
for the viewers, we are in a different studio. We are in a different studio for a reason, because just like 1 hour ago, we just finished a course, active shooter response course, which was done at the RDA. So we are now sitting at the base. And before we head home, we just wanted to like share the experience and tell you some comments and what we gained from the course. It was kind of intense. But before we get to that, I would give back some room to introduce himself and tell you something about him, and we build up on that. Okay, cool.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me here. You know, so I'm Buck Stetler from the U.S. and originally I actually live in Nevada still, but currently been residing in the Czech Republic for quite some time now. So it's been amazing. It's been a great experience. Europe's awesome. The guys here are amazing. But my background comes primarily from training in law enforcement. I started in law enforcement in 2006, I think it was. I did about 13 years of active law enforcement full-time stuff before I decided to kind of self-retire and move away from the political stuff and get into more privatized things. And so during my law enforcement career, those 13 years, I was, 11 of them were with the SWAT team. 8 of those years, I was with the federal government on a task force. So got to spend a lot of time doing that and different things all around the country, a lot of different areas of the world. So it was a great experience. So I was very, very fortunate in my career, especially just being as a police officer. I got linked up with some really good friends of mine, are former Rangers, very close. We're still really good friends and stuff. And so we started a training company back in 2000 and I want to say it was 11-ish, somewhere around there. And we started out just local stuff, just doing training and teaching basic pistol firearm stuff to mostly locals. Then it turned into some security forces guys. We did a huge course for the Air Force. And then it slowly turned into more and more. And then it turned into all across the U.S., doing everything from California to North Carolina, and everything in between. So it was really, really cool. I met a lot of really good guys around the U.S. over the course of that time. So then I want to say it was 2017, 2018, after I had kind of self-retired, I was doing private security for family, kind of executive protection stuff. And during that, it brought us overseas, and we hired some local guys overseas, and one of them actually ended up being Harry from ESA. Back then, he was younger and much more feisty than he is now, and
but still handsome, I guess.
Oh, extremely handsome.
So,
he was bigger back then too.
Shout out to Harry.
But so I met him back then, and we did the thing, and him and I clicked. So about a year after that, or 2 years maybe it was, we talked about doing a course overseas and like, hey, you want to bring some of your instruction over here or whatever from what you've been doing. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Why not? Let's do it. And he's like, well, how much are you going to charge? I'm like, I don't need to charge anything. Like, let's pay for the plane ticket so I'm not out of expense. But other than that, let's get the boys training and what they want and some good information. And so after that, it worked out really well. The first class, I want to say there was like almost 30 or more people.
That's actually when we met.
Yeah.
The first time we were here by ESA, it was a really cool event.
Yeah, and we did it here at RDA, and it was a 2-day just basic pistol carbine, 1-day pistol, the 2nd-day carbine, and it was awesome. Like we had guys from all over the place, Slovenia, a bunch of guys from Germany, Austria, Estonia guys came there in that course too. Yes, there's some guys from the Czech. It was a bunch of guys, so it was really, really cool. So such a good turnout. It turned into another course later the next year, and then it turned into a 4-day course. The 4-day course was really cool. That was fun. It's a lot on an instructor side of it for 4 days of that, but that was another huge course. We had a lot of guys show up to that one, so that was spectacular. And then it kind of just snowballed from there, really. We were doing training down in Slovenia. We did a CQB course in Slovenia. Then we came back to RDA. We've done courses in Austria, in Czech Republic. We're talking about going, did courses in Poland. We're talking about doing and establishing a course for some of the military guys in Estonia. So it's just growing, and it's a huge, so humbling experience for myself, really, just because I'm passionate about it. I don't do training as a full-time job. It's more of a passion and exciting for me to be able to just share the knowledge and experiences that I've had over the years with a bunch of dudes, and especially from Europe. These guys' ability to listen and learn and then implement the stuff that they're told or we talk about it's spectacular. It's really, really cool to see. And from an instructor standpoint, the guys at RDA specifically and in Slovakia, the return students that want to come back and they want to do more and they want more information and they want to do it again is spectacular.
I can tell you why, because when we first met, that was, I don't know how many, like 2 guys, maybe Jacob was with me, Tino was with me, he then didn't return, but like few of us. It was like a really great experience because you are used to how this shit is learned in Europe, but then somebody from outside is basically teaching the same thing, like fundamentals, but from his side, and it's completely different. And maybe something click more, maybe something less, but like it's like learning a language from, it's really, really cool. So then we, on the next time, we call more guys, so even more Slovaks came for the second turn. Mm-hmm. And again, like what you can assess, like from shooting, like, okay, so put your finger there, all these small things. Even experienced guys then were like, okay, so this was really cool. Like I was shooting like this for, I don't know, X amount of years, and then like it like get better instantly. And this, like, the word went around, and then, like, for the third time, like, Marek came.
That's how they sold it to me. Like, the most advanced guys from our group that have been to countless courses before and do this for countless years were like, this was a fucking game changer. Like, I've changed my approach to the whole thing, and I was like, how is this even possible at this point? And like this guy's like a real deal. Like you have to see for yourself, because it's difficult to describe to someone that didn't experience this. So yeah, I was, and that I heard it from the guys that don't give compliments ever. So it was like, whoa, awesome. This is something.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. That's again, it's just all so humbling, because it's not. I'm not a high speed guy. I'm not like the best top shooter out there. I'm really not nothing special. But the way that I see it is like there's a lot of really good. There's no bad instructors. There's bad instruction, and so there's some really top tier guys out there that have a world of experience, and they've done so many different things, and they've been so many different places around the world, but their issues are like they can't communicate that across to other people so they understand. So it goes back. I'll dub. I just came up with this. Like, there's no bad instructors. There's bad instruction, and that's really what it comes down to. Is that some of these guys, and they're great dudes. Some of them are not so great dudes, but they can't get their message across in a way for students to understand, to implement it. There's so many guys out there that they want to do most of their story or their instruction is storytelling. They talk about, this is how we're going to teach it because this experience, this, and this, and then they talk about the stories. There are some other instructors out there that I butted heads with in the past because everything they do and they teach off of is based off of like analytics and like, okay, we need to document every split time and we need to document this is how much time it takes to do this and everything else. And it's like, okay, well, I can see where that can be valuable in a certain aspect, but that shouldn't be what the course of instruction is, you know. And we were teaching for years. We were doing like 1,000 rounds of pistol on Saturday and 1,000 rounds of pistol on Sunday, or I mean carbine on Sunday, and students loved it. And then when I stepped away from that group and stopped training, some guys signed up for a course that they thought me and Tyler were going to be at. Me and Tyler weren't there. We just stepped away, clean. We didn't say anything. Didn't want to say anything bad. Didn't want to take away from that company or the student roster or anything else like that. So the students showed up, and 90% of the students that showed up were returning students of Tyler and I's, and they were expecting us to be there. And they gave us a feedback, and I'm like, man, it was so disheartening to hear just the failure of training. They went from shooting 1,000 rounds to like maybe 200 rounds. And they're like, well, we came to a shooting course to shoot, and all we're doing is talking about, you know, how to shoot or the theory behind shooting. And it's like, man, and those instructors are phenomenal. Like the guys that were doing this course are awesome dudes, phenomenal instructors, a wealth of information, tons of experience. But it's like their delivery of doing the instruction is where the failure was. You know, so I don't know. That's just my thing is just keep giving the information out and helping guys and answering questions. And I mean, and you guys know this from previous courses. My biggest thing is why. If there's any information or something I can give to a student that they take away and go to other courses, because I encourage training as much as you possibly can get, but ask why. There's so many different YouTube instructors out there, or overnight Hollywood dudes that just saw that they want to go teach, and all of a sudden they took one course and now they're going to go teach a bunch of guys something, but they don't understand why they're talking about something or why they're teaching something. They're just teaching it. So, you know, for everybody out there listening and stuff, if you go do shooting courses or tactics courses, whatever, get the reason why that instructor is instructing it, why, and understand it so you can implement it better, because you got to get something out of the courses that you're going to.
Yeah, I believe it's similar with this instructor's instruction thing everywhere. Like I experienced really skilled guys which were really not good with words, let's say, okay, and other than that, like a guy who were like really low experience, let's say, or less experience, but really charismatic, and I really take a lot from that. Okay, and they were able to explain the thing, or at least like show me their point of view.
Right.
And if you are like critical thinker, you can tell, okay, so this is good for me, and okay, this is not doing good or well into my skill set. But then you can pick, because you have like a new tool available. So,
and that's a really good thing from a student's perspective, is like being able to adjust and listen and take in the information, understand it. And maybe there might be a time to use that tactic or that grip or that sight alignment or whatever it is, or that trigger press, right? But that doesn't mean it's the only way to do it. You know, it's like, okay, that's another tool. That's another good technique that I've learned, I've experienced it, I've trained it, I practice it. I wouldn't use it every single time, but I also might use it, you know, if I'm shooting from cover or whatever, underneath a table or whatever it is, you know, it might come in handy. So don't be so critical on the instruction that you're getting that you're like, oh, this is a bunch of bullshit, or it's like
that happened mostly. I believe you already had this kind of student where he was on some previous courses, he got the information, and when you tell something, he's always like hands up, but there they taught it differently, and that's why and why. And you said, okay, maybe it's good for this, but in this system it's not say rubbish, but not good. And he's all from that point, the student is like, okay, because you just ruin his vision about shooting or something, and it's happening a lot. So also being a good student, like even if you don't like something about the instruction, so note it, because you know that, okay, I don't have to really memorize it or remember, or maybe sometimes in the future will help me.
Right.
Okay. Right. And just take the good things out of it, because I believe after the guy is like, okay, you know, like I'm not eating any more information, he will lose a lot of good stuff just because he like didn't like
poor attitude, right? Yeah, exactly. You know, it's so true, man. It's and there are students out there, and they do like they catch on to something, or somebody or an instructor told them something, and they eat into it, and they're like, yeah, and then you're like, well, no, and this is why no, because, you know, X, Y, and Z, and then they're like, well, I never thought about it like that, and that's stupid. I don't like your way. I don't like that you tell me it's not good. It's like, okay, man, well, just trying to help you out, you know, and don't let it ruin your weekend.
Yeah, it's happening, definitely.
Yeah, I also like very much that I have the feeling as a student of yours that you kind of take yourself out of the picture and your ambition is not present, and you really focus on the students individually. You can work with very different experience level students in the same course, and I think you can teach, you can see like what the students need to hear, and you don't try to prove anything to anyone because you don't have to, and that's a really big thing for a teacher. I think it's not as typical as it should be in this area. So
like the scene is like when there is like a big dude who is instructor and there is another big dude as a student, so it's a pissing contest from some point.
Right.
So yeah, we don't have to play this game, and I can tell like from my experience here at RDA that like we are actually like going to the good direction. Like people are really open about their thinking, and when they even like bring something from the past, but when I was here, I don't know, 5 years ago, I did this like this, okay, and it's like just try to like think about it, like why would you do that, and they are not like, oh no, I'm leaving. Okay, so that's a good point. So even people are like when you have the attitude as an instructor, be open-minded, and I'm also open-minded to another input, so it will just soak also to the students, and they're like, okay, so that's actually not bullshit. Okay, maybe I won't use it, but you know, they are also pretty well going.
Yeah, I mean, I take it down to like, there's a lot of instructors out there that just, they teach off of ego, right? And I think a lot of students feed into it, you know, and social media and stuff like that really feeds into it and makes it worse, you know, and the biggest thing is that you got to get away from having an ego and just get in the mix. Like, I don't care how long you've been teaching. I don't care what your experience is. I don't care what you did in your past. The past is the past. But you need to be able to relate to the students and be a part of that team, because you're forever a student. Like, I don't care what you are, but you're forever a student. You should always be learning. The second that you're like, oh, well, I'm an instructor because, you know, I'm a Dev Group Delta Team XYZ, you know, Ranger, and it's like, okay,
Naval Social Welfare.
Yeah, the Naval Social Welfare guy, right? But it's like okay, and even those guys, like I know a lot of like top tier dudes, very close friends of mine, and they're like constantly trying to get into training, and the sad part is that like they usually like don't go to training anymore because they end up getting sucked into being the instructor. They're like, I don't want to teach, I want to be a part of, like, I just want to be a part of the class. I want to do, like, yeah, but you taught me how to do this. And it's like, so what? I want you to now teach me what I taught you. How about that, you know?
We call it tactical incest. Like when you are only a teacher or only instructor, so you just repeat your own truth so many times that you just that's your only way what you can. And also like a font, like a gene font, when you want to don't have like a retarded babies, so you just need to find I don't know, wife which is not your cousin, so you just need to go at least to the other end of the city,
right?
Okay, so you will have nice kids, but if you have like this, so it will be like,
that's so true. So true, man. Yeah, it is. I was talking to one of the guys before he left there today earlier, and I told him, I said, it's so cool to see the instructors grow, or your student grow and be a bigger instructor, you know what I'm saying, or a better instructor, and things like that is because I remember back in the day, man, I think 2012 or 13 or something like that, when Tyler was like a real skinny little kid bike cop, but yeah, he was like 15 years old, you know.
He really was a bike cop, or
he for legit, he was a bike cop, and he used short shorts and all that bit with a stick. You should have seen it. It was hilarious. Lovely. Little baby face, super skinny, like he was a skinny kid. It was awesome. But when he came to the first course as a student, and then he's like, you know, he kind of like fell in love with the training aspect and the learning and the better. And he was a good shooter back then. You know, he's slower than me back then, but you know, we developed him into a point where he came back to a course and then back to another course and then to another course. And it's like me and my partner back then were like, hey, you know, should we bring him on as an instructor? And I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, the kid's squared away. You know, like, he's got his shit together. He's squared away. He's going to be a good fucking instructor. And bring him in. It's like, hey, how about you come and be an assistant instructor one day or whatever, you know, instead of being a student. He's like, yeah, I'd love to, you know, and he comes in, he does it. And then it's like, hey, you know what? Eventually you build him up. You're like, hey, how about you take over this course, you know? And it's like, he's like, what? Okay. And you kind of throw him into the fire, and then all of a sudden he's like growing and teaching and speaking better and everything else like that, and
owning it. Yeah.
yeah, and he owns it. And then he's just like a rock star, you know. So I'm not trying to give him any kudos. He's still a dork nerd, but he's a stud, man, and my best friend. So
Awesome. Yeah, we definitely should bring him back again to Europe, because
yeah.
it was awesome time, like seeing you two instructing together. It was like always good. Like also the dynamics, and you can tell we have the same shit going on around our group. You know, this back and forth, and not competing but really competing.
Right.
You know. So that was awesome.
I think one of the best shirts that's in the industry today actually came out of one of the courses him and I were here. It's Buck is bigger than Tyler. You can get it at corevision.com. But it's a picture of me where I'm clearly bigger than him on the range, and that's really all that matters.
I always say like 1 kg, which is like 4 pounds, then 2 pounds. Okay, so you know.
Yeah, right.
Of muscle is more than 1 kg of anything else. You know.
Exactly. Bigger's bigger. You know.
Right. Well, so yes, you said like you spoke with the guy earlier, and then we want to like bridge to that active shooter scenario, like response. What we did. It was actually a 3-day course, or like maybe you can lead us through that. So what we did. And then we can share some experience from the course also to our listeners and viewers.
Yeah, no, I love that. I said it was great because you guys both got to participate in the course as students, and you know, I rely on you constantly every time I'm here for different things. So I greatly appreciate you filling in and doing stuff. But it was the first time we got to do like an active shooter response team, and we started out made it a 3-day course because I believe I'm not a big fan of PowerPoints, but this one does require kind of a PowerPoint presentation and talking through. And so we started the day Friday afternoon with PowerPoint presentation. We talked about some previous active shooters and studies from the U.S., obviously, and you know, kind of find trends around them and stuff, and really figure out that there isn't a trend, or there's no way of like predetermining if this person or kid is going to do something, right? And we go into PowerPoint, and primarily a lot of the PowerPoint is based around mindset, you know, mental preparation. And that really is key, in my opinion, to anything that you're going into. Not necessarily just like one specific incident, but mental preparation and mental toughness is super important in any kind of warrior mentality, unless you're going to be a victim, right? So we talk about being prepared. You know, it's the more you sweat and bleed in peace, or the more you sweat in peace, the less you'll bleed in war. And it's a really, I don't know who originally said that. I stole it, put it in my PowerPoint. Sorry if you don't sue me. But it's a great saying. It really does make sense, and it just puts that emphasis on getting as much training as you possibly can to prepare yourself, because Garrett Schwindel said a long time ago, he's like, panic in your mind translates to panic in your movement. So the more that you can reduce that stress in your head and the less panic and chaos that you can create, the more proficient and essential you're going to be into response to whatever it is that you're doing. So the biggest thing out of the PowerPoint is talking about this stuff and but really getting guys in the mindset of, how do you prepare to go into a situation? A guy said it earlier in the class here was like, it's morbid and it sucks, but you really have to see, like, picture, if you've never seen a dead body, you've got to picture that in your head of like, what do you expect a dead body to be? It's probably not going to be what it is when you see it, but you got to have that so you're like, okay, I'm somewhat prepared to get into this, and if you never respond, or you never hear gunfire before, you never heard gunfire without, ear protection on, it's vastly different. It's huge. And if you don't experience that, then you'll never know. And then when it really happens to you, it's going to throw you, it's going to really mess you up to where you might throw you off your OODA loop, and all of a sudden you can't do what you're supposed to do because that was the first time you heard gunfire, and then you just shit your pants, and now everything's gone out the window. So getting that training, that's that sweating in peace, mentality.
Cool. Yeah, that was awesome. I really liked that mindset part of it, because what we do here is like doing active shooting scenarios. There is also a PowerPoint. We mostly go through the cases, like which happen here in Europe, but we also speak about those famous ones in US. You mention it like from just a bit. But I was thinking maybe we can speak more about or your idea about this Uvalde shooting in Texas. You mentioned that like the guys are standing there in the corridor for a really long time. Only why we are putting it into our presentation is that you cannot rely even like if the response times is like 5 minutes, but it can happen that the guys will be standing somewhere or cannot get into it, either ambulance or like the law enforcement. So yeah, better be prepared and learn the shit so you can at least put pressure, you know how, where, maybe you have a tourniquet on. Even if you are not in the room with the shooter, but maybe in the opposite room, but you cannot get out actually, but you somebody of your close ones is bleeding out, so you don't want to rely on something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point. You know, Sandy Hook happened a long time ago, the elementary school shooting, and that was one of the biggest failures and learning curves was there was such a massive response to it that it completely blocked the traffic getting in. So the ambulances couldn't get in and they couldn't get out. And so they're like, oh, and then obviously everyone stopped and locked their cars, and the cops locked their cars, and the fire trucks blocked the roads and everything. And so they're trying to get victims out of the thing, and then they can't. Just the roads just completely blocked, and then all the cars are locked up, and so no one can move the cars. And it was a huge chaotic thing, and it was a big problem. And that's stuff, the learning curves, you know, and unfortunate incidences and horrific problems like that give a lot of training and experience to folks to be like, okay, how do we do better next time? And that's really the only positive thing that comes out of situations like this is how we can improve and do. And so that led up to a lot of law enforcement getting active shooter training. And then this Texas situation happens, and I'm not an expert on this. I'm not trying to be an expert. I'm not claiming I'm an expert, and especially on the case study of that, I'm sure there's a lot more information that I don't know about. But you know, the epic failure that's on video that everybody has seen is, you know, these officers who just froze, just completely stopped. Like you can hear the shootings going on in the video, and they're like peeking around the corner. And it's like, guys, I cannot stress enough. If this isn't the job for you to respond to that, then find something else. You know, the U.S. has plenty of other jobs to do. And if being a cop and responding to those bad guys like this, like, isn't your thing because you freeze or, you know, you don't want to die, then like go work at Dairy Queen, right? Or something. Like, I don't know what to tell you, but, you know, as a police officer, you have to react to whatever the situation is, regardless of your internal emotions or how you feel or whatever. Like, you got a job to do, and you can't stop and slow down. These guys completely froze up. They stopped on the hallway. They're peeking. They never responded. They never responded. And then ultimately they did. But how many lives were lost or injuries occurred or anything else because of these guys just complete negligence of doing their duty when they're right there in the mix of doing it, you know. And it's super unfortunate. And I know that those guys had active shooter training. Like, that's not a hand, like that doesn't even have to be, I don't have to research it and try and find that out. I know for a fact they got that training because that was like a national standard for years in making sure that law enforcement got training and know how to respond. And it was a nationwide type situation. And it was designed so that if you're an officer and you're at the right place at the wrong time and you have to respond, an active shooter happens, you can respond, and you can respond with any other officer that shows up, regardless of the state or jurisdiction you're in, because everybody was getting the same training. Mm-hmm. And so it's just a complete epic failure on that department's behalf, and those officers' negligence is, you know, and I sure hope that those guys are held accountable, honestly, because, you know, the lives that were lost because of them is just horrific.
But what is cool that you said, like, after the first incident, like the first big incident, there was like a nationwide, let's say, campaign initiative, for like getting the knowledge to the officers in Europe. When there is something like this, so they just ban something, you know, like ban guns, ban cars, ban whatever. So. Yeah,
I mean, it's definitely a good and positive thing that came out of it, but you know, the failure, I believe, on the U.S. side and the law enforcement and the U.S. side of things is that, like, it's a knee-jerk reaction to a horrific incident, and it's not continual, right? So, like, for me, one of my personal experiences was we were trying to get officers to carry tourniquets. We wanted them to carry tourniquets for years. Like, hey, my department specifically, right? And we want them to carry tourniquets, and tourniquets is like, well, no. Then we got to do training on it. Then they're expensive. We got to pay for them, and then we got to get training aids, and we got to pay for those. And it was always like a money thing. Well, then a shooting happens, an officer dies when he could have been saved from a tourniquet, right? Or at least prolonged to where he could have got further care and possibly survived. Like, it's not fair for me to say like he would have survived. Like that nobody knows, right? And you know, if he would have had a tourniquet, or if somebody else would have had a tourniquet and known how to apply it, they did it, right? But then all of a sudden, there's this huge initiative afterwards of like, okay, everyone's getting tourniquet training. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, it takes someone to die to get a tourniquet, like to do what we want them to do. And it's like, man, you just cost an officer, a father, a brother, a son, his life in order to get this simple, you know, $50 part. You know, maybe it's $5,000 a cup. I'm sorry, but you can't put a price tag on a person's life. It's just unacceptable. And it was one of those unfortunate things, but you know, the more you look at it, you see it's like how many lives have to be lost in a car accident at an intersection before they put a stoplight in. And it's like, oh, it literally, they have a statistic for it. They're like, okay, well, if there's X amount of crashes here at this thing and X amount of deaths, it's like, okay, then we'll invest the money for a stoplight. I'm like, oh, I don't know if it's because of like a population control thing or something. Like, I don't understand like why that's like how that's sensible for anybody to make that decision, you know, regardless if you know who it is or whatever, it doesn't matter. But like, people are people, man, and they should be cared about. All human. It's just humanitarian, you know, so.
Also, ridiculous thing is that the tourniquet was developed because the military service guys were dying. So already many people have died before they even developed the tourniquet. And then to get it to law enforcement, again, like
Someone
certain amount of people have to die in the law enforcement. So it's not even about specific number of lives lost. You have to do it for every single, like, then if you want to like medical guys to use it, to have it as a standard equipment, they would probably have to lose patients again. So
unfortunately, man, I think that's just like sometimes the way of life for some of these folks is because it's all money, you know, it's all about budget and how you can maximize it, and it's just no one thinks about the person or people aspect of it. So you know, that was day one. Mentality and starting of it, right?
Like sad dudes sitting around the table, fucking hell.
Well, it's not a happy theme.
No, it's not. Yeah. So it is a necessary evil though to talk about these things and show the pictures and stuff. But day two was more or less getting guys familiar and working around corners and clearing rooms and working in conjunction with a team and active shooting, you know, like live fire into paper targets and stuff like that. And so, you know, there's one thing that, you know, I've done CQB courses, I've done flat range courses, we've done shoot house courses, we've done, you know, sim round courses. We're in a shoot house and stuff like that, force on force and everything. But this was kind of the first time that I got a chance, thanks to RDA, to be able to implement the active shooter portion with live fire, right? And get cops or civilians or whoever it is to understand like how to clear a room safely, like by yourself or with a guy next to you, just as a support, clear a room safely, and then engage or see a threat and identify it. You know, that's one big thing that people don't talk about is target identification. On a good guy side of things and on a training aspect side of things, like, let me go back. So as a good guy, you have to be able to identify your target and justify what it is, what your action is. And because plain and simple, if you're a good guy and you use a gun, you're guilty until you prove your innocence. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't care what anybody says. It's like, well, no, you're innocent until you're proven guilty. It's like, no. Not if you're a good guy. You're immediately guilty. It's on you to prove that you're innocent in your actions and what you did and justify. And part of that is target identification. You know, there's so many times that you get on a training thing or a CQB or whatever it is, and it's just like, just shoot, right? You're just, you know, you're going in, you're gauging a target and just shoot. And we've seen it during CQB courses where they just shoot everything, you know, like the one CQB course I did for, I think it was was it here? Was the Sentinel guys? I don't remember who it was for, but it was like I didn't look like they were clearing everything. So I stood inside a threshold just to see if they were going to clear the small little room that I was standing in. And the dude saw my feet because his head was down and shot me point blank in the chest with an airsoft round. And it's like, and I didn't have nothing in my hands. I had my arms crossed. I was standing there. I didn't say anything and didn't do anything, but it's because I scared him. He's like, bam, bam, shot me right in the middle of the chest. And
You're a big guy, you know.
Super
We
scary.
spoke about demeanor.
Yeah, he's clearly would have killed me, so I killed him first. It's like,
I guess, all right, I believe that we are all guilty of it because we have those targets. And like, my wife is not listening to this, so I'm good to like free to say, like, I fell in love with one lady, but she got the pistol in her hand. And then again, on the opposite side, I was like, okay, so I'm shooting everybody right now, okay? And there was a lady with a pistol in his hand, but you didn't saw it when we were as a pair. And he was like, wait. No, okay.
oh, there it is, yeah. Yeah, no, it's so true, you know, and it's like, and I think it's a failure on a lot of instructors, CQB course instructors I'm one of them, you know, because I was like, let's put shoot target. Every time you see a paper target, you shoot it. And that develops, on a training side of things, that develops the student to just shoot everything he sees every single time. And it's like, that's not the case. You know, when we do force on force, there's guys that come jump out of a room with their hands up in the air, like screaming for help, and they get shot in the chest. And we're teaching the operator to just shoot everything. And it's like, that's not the right answer. We need to be teaching these guys how to think on their feet, target identification, you know, hands, eyes, hands. Like, you gotta look at their hands. That's what's going to kill you. You know, sorry, unpopular to popular belief, U.S. politicians, but guns don't kill people. People kill people, and there's no way around it. And so the gun doesn't just go off and it's in your pocket and all of a sudden it shoots you in the forehead. It's got to be in someone's hands to be able to operate it right. And so you identify the hands, you look at their eyes. Why do we look at your eyes? It's like, well, your eyes will tell a huge story, right? And it's like, is this person a good guy and he's scared shitless and it's in his eyes where he's scared and he's got a gun in his hand because he's trying to protect himself? Or is it a bad guy who has that, you know, blank stare, 1,000-yard stare, and he's trying to kill people or kill you? Those eyes are totally two different things. And so it's super important to be able to identify that, because if you kill the guy that's like trying to protect people and he's scared, and you're like, well, because he had a gun. And it's like, well, it's not going to play out for you well, because his family is going to be like, he was protecting us. The cops came in and just lit him up and killed him. Or these civilians or whoever, they came in, they killed him. He was protecting his 6-month-old or whatever it was. He was clearly right behind him. It's like, oh, not even the legal side of that thing, but the mental side of that. As an operator, come in and kill. I know several dudes who have some pretty, you know, messed up problems now, because they like, well, you know, I had to shoot this dude because he had an AK, or he had this, or he was doing this. But now looking back on it, I don't think he was a threat. I think he was just like scared and protecting himself. And it's like, you know, I had to kill him. And it's like, dude, that side of it from the operator standpoint of like living with that for the rest of your life is like, fuck. But it's easy to talk about because you're not in that scenario making that split-second decision in a combat zone or war zone or a threat environment or whatever, right? And but you have to have those discussions with students to get them in that mentality of being like, okay, I can experience this in training so I can kind of get an idea of what it's like, and hopefully it sets you up. God forbid you ever have to deal with the real thing, but hopefully it sets you up for success if you do.
Yeah, like I have a good experience because every time when people are doing CQB, at least here, they're like starting really fast because nobody's shooting at them back, so they want to like look cool and, you know, do this crouch movement and stuff like this.
Yeah.
But then they cannot really see what's in the room. But then, no, if there be a bad guy, I will kill him, blah, 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 you know, like, all right, not, but let's say target, and I will shoot the target, okay? And then once we did, it was on the range day, kill house run, but on the targets there were equations, like simple mathematical equations, okay? And you can tell, like, not just by looking at it, because I was like a range officer going behind them, but also from the sound of it when you're standing outside, like there was like silence, and the moment the guy like with his light lit up the target with the equation, it was like, fucking hell. It was like 3 times 3 plus 3. No. It was like all the results were like under 5, because that was the number shot you needs to get to the target. Okay.
Yeah.
But it was like 2x2 in the
Brackets.
and then plus something. So not really difficult, but it's complicated by it looks.
Right,
Okay.
right.
But what that taught them is like there needs to be some kind of cognition, like thinking before you pull the trigger, because that shooting afterwards, when they like went to the equation once, then maybe for the second time, because they don't want to mess it up, it was like ping ping ping, okay, and all like headshots, like kill zone shots, so the shooting portion of it's easy, but you can tell like there was a grown man, simple equation, and I was like, holy shit, and standing there with his light on for like 10 seconds, like, counting in his head. So it was a really fun exercise.
I love that. That's fantastic. There's some guys. So Lucas at T-Rex Arms years ago, he came out with some years and years ago now, but they came out with some targets that were fucking awesome, man. They had like symbols and shapes and numbers and letters and different size bubbles and everything, and they're I think I still have some.
It's like a refactor tactical thing. They have similar something like that, and also with
probably.
the playing cards.
Yeah, the playing
really
cards
cool.
was good ones.
Really cool,
you can do those. The playing cards are really cool, especially for like distance, like scope carving stuff and everything for a game. Those are a lot of fun, and you got to hit inside whatever the cards are dealt. That's always cool. But yeah, that's the thing is like you gotta take, as an instructor, you gotta start, like your students gotta start somewhere, right? So like crawl, walk, run. And that's really what we did. And what I wanted to achieve during this active shooter course was like, hey, let's talk about active shooter, and now let's crawl. Like we started out the day on the range with like simple walkthroughs of
Actually, we did it like in the evening on Friday.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we
did.
started with
Like
walking.
with like
Very simple
finger guns.
Finger guns, simple staircase, like just up and down, like we started out walking downstairs. Yeah, it's amazing to me or not me, but it's amazing in general if you tell someone like, don't look at your feet and walk down the stairs, and people are like, what? Like, well, and they look up, like, they look up in the sky and they're like walking down the stairs, like looking upwards, and it's like, oh no, you don't have to look in a different direction or like close your eyes blindly. But I'm just like, if you think about like not looking down at your toes versus just like looking ahead and using your peripheral vision to walk down the stairs, it's like, holy shit, that's a huge task. It's like, okay, now walk up the stairs, but don't look at your feet. And it's like, how many people look down at their feet every single time on simple tasks like walking upstairs? It's hard, but when you put a gun in your hand and you got to searching for somebody, you really have to be cognizant, because unfortunately, like, it just like, I don't know if it's the rule of good guys, but the second you look away is when bad shit happens. And you got to train yourself as a good guy to like, okay, if I have a target or I have a problem or something like that, I got to stay fixated on that. I can't be like looking behind me or, talking to the guy, like looking at the guy to talk to him and that kind of stuff. So, but, start out with just walking, like what it looks like walking down, what it looks like walking past an open door for an active shooter situation, like get that feeling, that kind of stuff. And then moved into the Saturday portion of it. And we just started out with simple corner, and then we went into a T corner, or a T intersection, and how to move past that, and, how to do that threshold evaluation, and, get as much of the room as you can from outside and before running in, and then how to move fast down a hallway, how to, move faster on a corner, and getting that dynamic entry. And I'm still a huge fan of speed, surprise, and violence of action. One of my best friends today actually just said it. He's like, speed over security. It's like, God, dude, it's so true. It's like, yeah, that's a great saying to say, because the speed will save your life. Like, if all else fails, start moving your feet.
Yeah, at least today on the scenario on the force on force, like you said it on Saturday, we did it today, and even if you see somebody in the room, you will just realize that, address it, and then come back to it. But if you just be picking, so exactly, it was this case on the first run with you as an active shooter.
Yeah.
So I was just like, breaking, getting back, but
even
was
though
like success.
The guys missed the room before I could get ready for it, I was like, were those the guys? Because it was just a smudge, basically.
Moving, yeah.
And I was like, it probably were the guys. Before I could get ready to shoot them, I was already down.
Well, that's a good point, is like, they're like, they teach active shooter, and when they do, they're like, oh, run towards gunfire. And it's like, okay, well, you put gunfire inside of a building, which way is it coming from? The sound and the echo and the thing. And then you put them into a room, And then it's like, well, you don't know which room it is inside of like we're using a schoolhouse today. You don't know which room it is until you're like on the room, you know, and hopefully the shooter has a malfunction and have to have like some sort of like a Murphy pause in it to respond to it and give yourself that second. But
yeah, but it's true. We did it yesterday at the range base, and it was like, okay, so you know the general direction. It's from the other side of the building, right? But you cannot tell by just the sound of it where it is from. Like continuing today,
right,
with all the shouting and everything, you cannot hear shit.
Yeah.
Like my sense to rely on was visual, like vision, not really ears.
Yeah.
I didn't even hear my friend. You know what I mean? So yeah. Vision.
That's one of the things that you have to do is you have to find that balance, you know, because you could say, you know, speed, but it's like, okay, well, we got to work with speed in conjunction with actually mental processing. So it's not just speed on your feet, right? It's like speed in your mind and your brain at the same time and I think the biggest takeaway for me to try and push on students is like teaching them how to think or critical thinking, right? And use that critical thinking to make decisions fast. That's what we want, the speed. So it's not about the fastest guy who can run down the hallway, but it's the fastest guy that can move through the hallway and see everything and make a decision. You know, so it's finding those three elements, getting up into that razor's edge of that. And you have to do it during training. You got to do it till the wheels fall off, you know, like you got to run past the door and like, I missed it, shit, and have to come back to it and then readdress or run past it completely and then run past it again and then run past it again. It's like, okay, I'm moving way too fast. I can see it, but I'm not processing what I'm seeing. And therefore I was like, okay, now I need to slow down so I can see it longer to let my brain catch up, process it, and then come up with a plan how to deal with it.
Yeah, and like the new thing, or not new thing, because we did several courses, but the really good aspect of it is like there is no end to it. I mean, when you see like, okay, there is empty hallway, I have nothing to watch, nothing to see, nothing to observe. You, with your like experience, you can tell me the exact layout of the closest 3 rooms and which is L-shape and where is the doors and stuff like this. You know, because at the beginning level, I'm just looking down the hall and is there a movement or not? And I'm like this, you know, like all eyes, all ears, nothing like that. And you can do the like, okay, the first door on the right, corner fed because of the hinges, because of the wall. When this is like this, blah, 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 toilet, small room, you know, it's all good thing. Like now I can see what I can like also see, you know,
right.
Because it show me like, okay, you can also tell like this. Oh, that's really awesome. That's really awesome.
Yeah, it's like that mental processing of like how you're using information and gathering it, and then how you can implement what you've just learned, right? And it comes from like experience and doing things and picking it up and failing. It's like, okay, I was wrong. How was I wrong? And then analyzing it and being critical of yourself and just taking those topics and just, you know, continually getting better on it. And it just takes time and repetition. And, you know, fortunately for me, I've had a lot of time of like being able to be an instructor and be behind and be like, take some time and watch how guys do things and why they did stuff and everything. And then be like, okay, well, I would analyze this stuff as I'm going. I might not move nearly as fast, but I'm going to pick up a lot more information as I'm moving to be able to then use that information to my advantage, you know.
It's really similar when we are doing these medical scenarios. We always go through the hierarchy, like some kind of team leader, then is a medical leader, or like the main medic, lead medic. Then he has got his CLSs, and then there are some like all service members level medics or rifles, okay? And then there is a victim. In a scenario, there's always a victim, and the question is like, who will learn the most from the scenario? And people are like, lead medic, because he got this and this. No, the guy who is hands-on. And then like the team leader. And I'm like, no, guys, like victim. The guy who is just like laying there, he know all his shit. He's looking around, okay?
Yeah.
He has no stress.
No responsibility.
He's like, the capacity is open, okay? And he's just like
gathering information.
Always know the correct answer. And we call like ourselves like destiny, because you are like that as an instructor and you are telling what's wrong. And it's happened many times that like I'm looking at we have like eye contact, and he's like, I know what to do. I know you know, but they need to find out. And like, or like if they do something wrong, he's like, I know. You know,
let them screw it up.
Yeah. So they can learn. Yeah.
And that was one of the things, like the briefing this morning is that I had with these guys is like, hey, be a good role player, be a good support, because you can get so much more out of a role player than you can out of, especially the first guys that went, you know. It's like, if it was me, I would have been like, position myself as a dead guy to just have my eyes open and watch what they did, right? Like, try and cheat the system the best that you possibly can every chance you get. But sit my there and be like, oh, I'm dead, and I'm just watching, just to watch how they move around the door, how long it takes them to move around the door, where they go to first. I'm listening to the gunshots. Like, gathering that information as role players is like super critical. And then it's being a good bad guy, because if you can be a good bad guy, you can position yourself and like, okay, that's going to make me a better good guy, you know, because I can see what the bad guy's thinking. I'm putting myself in his shoes a bit to be like, okay, if I was a bad guy, I'd hide here, I'd move here, I'd shoot here like this. And like, okay, now as a good guy, how do I combat that? You know, and I'm constantly keeping myself up to speed.
I must tell for today, this weekend's group, it was like pretty on point. Like those guys weren't really competing, apart from few, like, you shoot me, no, I shoot, so both are dead, okay, both are dead, you know, this normal, kind of thing. But apart from that, it was really cool. So it was like, it wasn't the pissing contest, it was like really, they want to learn, and like, okay, I did this, oh, right, yeah, thank you very much. This was this kind of like relationship I really liked a lot.
And that's what I love about like the European guys, like you guys all over this, I mean, everywhere over here. I've never had a bad experience from dudes that had like this pissing competition of like, oh, whatever, dude, I'm faster than you, or this or everybody over here is just like, yeah, dude, tell me the bad information. Like, okay, yeah, no, that's good feedback. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna improve on that. And man, the learning curve today of how you guys started out versus how you guys finished. Yeah, at the end of the day, guys are pretty tired, and it's a lot of information and stuff like that. But how you guys finished was like spectacular. Where it's like, oh, okay, we can slow down. How do I hit the gas? When do I get on the brakes? Come together as a team. Be systematically and work your way through down the hallway. Clear every single room. Pick up on stuff. A couple guys were missed, but you know that's a good learning curve.
Yeah, I just remembered the last course, the different course. It was low light, no light CQB, and you took me because we were clearing the rooms with the fancy night vision gear, and then you took me aside, like, remove the goggles and just stay in the corridor. And then I could see it from the other perspective, because we were just working with the paper targets, I think, not with OP4. But just you put me into the corridor just to see like what's it like from the guys that's hunted perspective, and it was such an I did not imagine it's like this, because I was seeing everything with the night goggles, then I put it away, and the guys were clearing the house without me noticing them until I had a gun in my mouth.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, that was a great course. That was another first one.
That wasn't the gun.
Well, it was dark.
Yeah, you got an excuse. It's okay. I'll let it slide this time. Yeah, that was a really good course too. I think that was a lot of fun. That was another first time. So we had the Falcon Club guys come down with that, help out, which was really cool. And I enjoyed that class. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, but it's always cool that you show us from different perspectives the situation that we're learning about, and it's always, I think from because I don't know if we ever did bad guys before. Rarely, I would say. Like, even if there's OP4, it was not always us doing the OP4. Sometimes it was just paintball guys.
I must tell from my own experience when I went to hard task training in Czech Republic.
Yeah.
So they they were lacking OP4, so they let me do the OP4, and I learned the most out of it. Like I realized things for myself, because I saw many possible varieties of the thing. So yeah, I definitely learned the most out of being OP4, because now you know like what's the thinking behind it, and it works also for like SUT. So okay, so imagine where would you hide? So probably the bad guy will be hiding in the same spot. Okay, it's a really high probability. So yeah, it's really, if you can, do OP4, guys, because it will learn you a lot.
I think it's critical. I mean, it really is crucial. It's nice to have a big group of role players for you, or a dedicated OP4 team. It's really good, but I think for the student to experience both sides of it during the same course is crucial, you know, because they can be like, okay, how do I do better, you know, from one to the other, and okay, I'm going to try and get the drop on them by doing this, and then I can see if it works as a good guy standpoint, because I know that Michko knows how to do this, so he's going to do this, so I'm going to try and do that, and you know, it really is an invaluable part of the training course.
Also getting into the like mind of a person that's just scared,
Yeah.
and so you understand how you have to communicate with the people that you're rescuing. If they just see an armed guy going really fast, hunting for the bad guy, it doesn't make much difference to them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's also a valuable.
Yeah, a big portion of
Information.
active shooter training is like getting guys to communicate, right? Like we saw that today of if every single iteration, they're like, well, I didn't know you were coming in here. I didn't know you were going here. I didn't know. I'm like, guys, talk, communicate, communicate, communicate. You know, the class is like super boring, but if we just had a class on how to talk to each other, you know, it'd be so valuable.
Just
People,
go to a disco and try to, like, I don't know, read the book for the
You,
other guy. You know,
you would
Yeah.
save a lot of marriages, I think.
yeah, probably. Exactly. Yeah, no kidding, right? But it's so true. And in getting these guys to experience, because you can teach active shooter and it's just like, all right, haul ass, run in there and shoot the bad guy. All right, come back out. Haul ass in there, run and shoot the bad guy. But that's the easy part, right? Like the simple part is hunting down the bad guy, shooting him, and then being like, all right, my job's done, moving on. But it's like there's so much more to do outside of the shooting aspect of it. It's like the critical thinking and slowing down the operation, getting in contact with everybody, helping out victims, clearing the building, getting people out of there. Because I mean, this is going to go on for days and days, and the investigations and the things that come after it. And training guys up on like how to talk to people. You know, there's one of the students today was like, he could not help himself, but he had to scream at everybody. And it's like, well, there's a time to scream at somebody, and then there's a time to be gentle and talk calmly and put your hand on them and help them out and do stuff to get them what you want to do. I think even one of the police officers was like fighting with one of the victims that was barricaded, and he was like, he even went to draw his gun out and pulled the door. He's like, going to shove his gun in there, like, I'm going to kill you if you don't open the door. And the guy's like trying to hold himself inside because he's scared, you know. And it's like you can have negated all that energy and stuff like that by like knocking, identifying yourself, reassuring them that they're here to help them, and they would have been like, oh, and then open the door and you move on.
yeah, it's really difficult to like shift gear from the high tension, really fast going, and then just go like, okay, now we are good. Okay,
Yeah.
like not like putting your situational awareness down, but like we are better, so we can just slow down, and we will get further with this nice word and maybe a knock than just shout at the people who were like in the worst stressful day of their lives.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Oh, and then you get the work done faster too. You know, it's like, hey, you're going to sit there and argue with somebody for 5 minutes, or you're going to have a short conversation and get them out in 1 minute. You know, because so yeah.
Yeah, so scenario-based training, right? But
Yeah.
also you went through that at the presentation that like the reality of it is a bit different. So even if you like tell that okay, I will go through that and no problem, and then maybe your colleague is shot. I really like the story you told about your colleague.
Oh yeah. So without going into like crazy details, but you know, some years ago, one of my a buddy of mine, he shot and died. And when I responded to the shooting, I had the page late, early middle of the morning, and I respond to the shooting, and I pull up, I get there, I'm in like board shorts and socks, and I jump out of the car, and I see one of the guys is like pacing up and down the sidewalk, and I'm like, hey, get over here. Call his name. He comes over to me, and he's like, he's covered in blood. He's, you know, panicking, deep, heavy breathing. And I'm like, tell me what happened. Tell me what happened. And I'm trying to get my gear on and throw on a vest, get my rifle. I was going to put on some shoes. And he's like, so I like stop what I'm doing, grab him by the shirt, look at him in his eyes and be like, hey, take a deep breath. Tell me what the fuck happened. And he's like, oh, he got shot. He got shot. I'm like, where is he? He's like, I think he's on the front yard. He's in the front yard. And it's like, all right, stay here. Watch my car. I'll be back, right? I'm going to come back to you. So I take off running and go over there and meet up with a couple other guys that were there. And then it's like, I'm like, where is he? And they're like, oh, he's up on the lawn. I'm like, well, fuck, let's go. So we go up, and unfortunately, both of the guys are good thing is that the bad guy that shot my buddy, the good guy, was fucking dead. We made sure that he was, double check that. And then, went to help my buddy. He had already passed away and basically bled out. So the learning lesson from that is like, not everybody, even guys with a lot of experience and maybe like the most senior guy or something like that, not always going to hold his shit together. you know, and you don't know. It's hard to know who's going to act in what way until it actually happens, right? You can do all the training. Looking back on it, for me, like being in training with this guy or some of these people, I guess, you can kind of anticipate it, right? Because a lot of the time, some of these guys that in training, they just joke or they laugh, and you know they don't really participate in it, and everything's just funny and you know, they just make a joke out of all the training. And looking back on the years, I'm like, oh man, this dude never actually really took training seriously. He was always just like, whatever, just, you know, kind of waved it off and did his own thing. And it's like, and then seeing the experience is like, oh, okay, well, maybe that's the guy that's going to lose his shit when everything hits the fan. He's probably the one that's going to come unglued. You know, we had another guy on the team years ago who did great, tested really, really well. His shooting scores was great. He interviewed very well. He did all this other stuff. And then it came to, we were doing a call out hitting this gangbanger's house, and his job was to cover the window while they flashbanged the bedroom. And when we approached the house, he was covering the window, and the bad guy came to the window and opened the drapes because he like saw the lights or whatever. And so he opened the drapes, and this dude like lost his shit, started screaming and cursing and fucking going crazy and hitting the window with the muzzle of his gun. And like, I remember I was at the front of the stack and I look over and I'm like, dude, calm the fuck down, bro. Like, relax. He's inside. You can yell at him, show me your hands or whatever else like that. But what do you expect him to get on the ground? Like, he's inside the house. He's not going anywhere. Like, give him some commands. You're screaming and cursing and fucking, dude, it was crazy. But he was asked after that. He was asked to kind of step away from the team and, you know, found some other guys that are better candidates. But yeah, it's you never know. You never really know who's going to lose their shit and when they're going to lose it. You know, it might be you can't bring in like cover you in blood and be like, hey, your buddy's dead. How are you going to react? You know, you can be like for me, I can be like, yeah, you know what? If you get shot in the face, like. You get shot in the face, like it sucks, man, and we'll deal with it later, but like there's a job to do now. But that's just us talking about it, right? I can't tell you how I'm going to react. None of my friends have actually been shot in the face next to me. I don't know how I'm going to react. I would think from my past experiences and being around, you know, people who have been shot or in the, you know, dead bodies and things like that, I would be like, okay, now I'm pissed, right? And I'm killing everybody now because you just shot my friend. You know, so, but I don't know, you know.
Yeah, like the thing you mentioned, like okay, so because in the police world, you can like working with your colleagues, your buddy can get shot, but maybe it's some officer you didn't know, so he's like not nobody. I mean, like a stranger for you, okay. But for our like civilian scenarios, probably we'll be covering for our close ones, you know, kids, wives, stuff like this. So. Also, like the realization that you may like go step over, like you said, like step over your, I don't know, brother's body. It can be really, really taxing on you. So at least like maybe think about it before you even like try to do something like that.
Yeah, it goes back to that morbid mentality. Like it is really morbid to think about what you would do. Like if your child was shot and killed. And then the potential for your other children or your wife or whatever to also get killed. And it's whether you step over their body and go deal with the threat or whether you stay and you deal with that problem in front of you and then risk someone else's life also, right? And it's a very morbid thing to have to think about. But for few of us that are kind of like in this world of protectors and trying to do good things and or operators or whatever, it's a reality, and it's a necessity to think about those kind of things ahead of time, to mentally prepare yourself to how to deal with that situation. Like, God forbid you have to, or you ever experience it. Like, I wish that upon nobody, but if you prepare yourself for it, it's like, okay, this really sucks, but I thought about this situation. I need to do this, you know? So it's such a true statement that you will always the human body will always resort back to what it knows. And if you're training and training and training and training, you're going to resort back to that. If like all the wheels fall off and your brain shuts down, and you'll resort back to that. So another story is man, I don't even remember what year it was. It was well before I had kids. I think it was before I was even married. So prior to 2011, we were, my wife would like that. I remember my wedding year. So yeah, exactly. So we were on a road trip. We were me and a few of my buddies were on Harleys. We're going to Sturgis from Carson City to Sturgis, which is in North Dakota. And we jump on the bikes and we leave and we're cruising and we get, I don't know, like 3 or 4 hours away from the house or something like that. And we're riding through the desert of the mountains, and it's on a separated 2-lane road. So, 2 lanes on this side, 2 lanes on that side. Desert on both sides, desert on an elevated road, desert in the middle. Just sagebrush everywhere. So, and I'm cruising, and I'm like, I got really bitchin' Harley, and all custom painted and everything. I got my bag in the back. I got my leather vest, my sleeves rolled up, all this shit. And I got my music, got crazy stereo on the motorcycle. Music blaring, cruise control on it, feet up on the highway pegs. I'm just leaning back, and we're ripping down the road about 80 miles an hour on cruise control. And my buddy's next to me, and then some of the guys behind me. So I like shifted my weight in the bike kind of over my seat like this, and I'm looking behind me to see if we need to stop and get gas in the next town. Well, when I did that, the bike started like drifting off to the side of the road a little bit. Well, in the U.S., the rumble strips are like deep and wide. And when you hit them in the U.S., it like sucks your car over into it. So you like forces you to make the correction. Well, on a motorcycle, it doesn't really work that great. So the bike dipped over and it hit the rumble strip and then sucked down into the elevated road. And so now I turn around and grab the handlebars, and I know not to hit the front brake because I'm going down the dirt embankment into the sagebrush. And so I like tap the brake to turn off cruise control. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll just ride the bike like a dirt bike down the hill and into the sagebrush and then come to a stop, and then we'll figure out how to get the bike out, right? It doesn't work like that, I'll tell you that. And so I'm going down, and I hit the bottom where the sagebrush meets the side of the road, and the bike like long darts nose first into it, folds the front wheel around, and flips me up into the air. So the funny thing about it is prior to this, probably maybe, I don't know, 30 or 45 minutes, an hour before it, I was thinking to myself, man, what would happen if you just went off the road going this fast into the desert, right? I'm like, fuck, dude, that would suck. That'd be really hard. I mean, probably try and ride the bike out, or I'm like, well, if I did, I'd definitely want to, I cross my arms and tuck and roll, basically, is all you can really do. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, that would suck, whatever. And we keep going, and then sure as shit, man, we off the road, down the embankment, nose dart, and I remember the whole thing where I'm like, oh, I'm, Ricky Bobby this thing. I'm like, I'm flying through the air. This is not good. And I'm like, okay, don't put my hands out, right? Because if I put my hands out and I land, I'm going to break my arm or something, right? So I cross my arms, and I put my fists up against my helmet. I tuck my chin down to my chest, and I see the ground coming. And when I saw the ground, I turned my head and rolled and tucked my left shoulder, landed on my back, like right here, and just just roll through the desert. And I remember thinking to myself, going, oh my God, I hope this bike doesn't hit me. Because I'm like, dude, this Harley, a big bagger Harley Davidson, it's going to really, really hurt, And at no point in time was like I thought I'm dead or anything else like that, and that'll lead into the next thing. But rolling through the desert, and I stop. I finally come to a stop, and I'm like, oh, wait for the bike to hit me. Never hits me. And then I'm like, okay, now what do I do? My initial reaction in my head was like, jump up, get on your feet. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute, Buck. Think about it. What do you do when you respond to somebody, and what do you, like an accident or something else like that? Just the first thing, I'm like, well, okay, I ask them, can you wiggle your toes? Because before you move a victim out of a car, their back's fucked up or their neck or something like that, you cause more problems. So I'm like, all right, don't cause more problems for yourself. Wiggle your toes. So I'm like, all right, so I wiggle my toes. I'm like, okay, I'm moving my toes. I'm like, all right, my fingers. I'm like, wiggle my fingers. I'm like, okay, wiggle my fingers. And I like so slowly stretch out my arms. And I'm like, whew. I stand up. I take off my helmet, set my helmet down, brush myself off in dirt. And I'm like looking around at myself, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm good.
I'm invincible.
Wow. I'm like, what the shit? And then my buddy that was next to me, he's actually a sheriff now for one of the cities back in Nevada. Amazing individual. And so he rips on the bike, turns around, coming backwards on the oncoming traffic, running back, and I see him, like the dust is settling, and I see him running through the desert. I mean, he's a little bit older guy, and not that old, but just
so is
older.
Marek, so you know.
yeah, exactly. And so he runs over to me and he's like, oh my God. He's like, touch me, check me. He's like, you okay? I'm like, hey, I'm fine. You're going to have a fucking heart attack, dude. Calm down. I'm okay. Relax. He's like, And it was funny. Some other people come up and they stop and they do the whole thing. And they bring me a chair and then the cops show up and the cop's like, dude, are you sure you're fine? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And he's like, I've never been to a motorcycle accident in this area and it not be a fatal. This is that's insane. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, man. I just lucky, I guess. And they're like, all right, we need to go to the hospital. I'm like, no, fuck that. I'm not going to the hospital. I'm fine. And they're like, no, dude, you're going to the hospital. Like, you need to get checked out. And I'm like, fine, whatever. So ambulance shows up, and the guy's like, all right, I'll bring the gurney. I'm like, can you bring me no fucking gurney, dude? I'll walk to the ambulance, right? And by this time, I've been sitting down for a while, so I go to get up, and I'm like, oh, ouch. You know, I'm like, a little sore, you know? So walk to the ambulance, I get in, and we start driving, and we're outside of a city called Battle Mountain, about maybe 30 minutes or so, and I'm sitting in the ambulance, and I'm like, oh, you got to give me an IV. He's like, yeah, it's protocol. I got to give you an IV. So he stabs me an IV in the left arm, and we're driving. He's talking to me, and we're doing our thing, and then I'm sitting there thinking about, like, okay, how am I going to get another motorcycle? We got to continue this trip. Like, we got to keep going. As I'm like, oh, shit, I got to tell my wife about this, you know, or my chick, because we weren't married, and so I'm like, I got to tell my girlfriend about this. Like, dude, this is going to be tough, because she's supposed to be flying, and I'm supposed to meet her there and pick her up from the airport on my motorcycle. And then all of a sudden, the exit sign in the back of the ambulance, it starts to get kind of blurry. And I'm like, that's weird. I'm like, dude, because I had laser eye surgery not too long before it. I'm like, man, I sure hope I didn't mess up my eyes, you know? And then it's like more and more blurry. And I'm like, man, thinking to myself, going, that's really weird. And then all of a sudden it starts getting black. Like it literally is one of these things where just like black is starting to close in. And I remember sitting there and I'm like looking around, like doing this with my eyes back and forth and like, what the fuck is going on right now? And then it got to a point that I like couldn't see. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm fucking blind. And I tell the guy in the paramedic, I'm like, hey man, I can't see anything. And he's like, huh? And he looks up and he goes, oh shit. He jumps around off my left side, runs around my head to my right side, stabs me with another IV in my right arm. And then I'm like, boom, right back to. I'm like, oh. Well, that's better. I'm like, what the fuck happened? And he's like, dude, your blood pressure just dropped to like 60/40. I'm like, oh, okay. What does that mean? And he said, well, you probably have internal bleeding. You know, we're going to have to medevac you back to Reno for emergency surgery. And I'm like, fuck you, dude. I'll die in Battle Mountain at this point. I ain't paying that bill. Are you kidding me? Like, dude, that's ridiculous. Like, just tell him what happened. I died in a motorcycle accident. Like, fuck it. You know? And he's like, well, calm down. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm calm. I'm not paying that bill, dude. It's like $50,000. I don't have $50,000, dude. I'm like,
you need a new motorcycle, right?
Yeah, I need a new motorcycle now and everything. I was like, I'm not doing it, dude. Forget it. And he's like, well, it's all right. We'll figure it out. And so sure as shit, it wasn't internal bleeding, but it was like an adrenaline dump is what they attribute it to. They're like, your body basically went into reset mode and your blood pressure dropped and just to protect itself and then brought it back up because, you know, I spent some time in the hospital up there and sitting there and didn't hear nothing, they did scans and all the other shit like that. And then I'm like, hey, doc, because I'm the only one in this like middle of nowhere little city. And I'm like, can I leave? Can I go home? And he's like, well, looks at the chart and he's like, I don't see why not. I'm like, fuck yeah. So I call my buddies at Harley Davidson back then. And I'm like, hey guys, yeah, we heard. Are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I need another motorcycle. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah. They're like, all right. I got somebody on the road right now. And badass bunch of dudes. But one of my really close friends, his name's Nabil. He's fucking awesome. But they got me another bike. They threw it on a trailer. They fucking drove it out, 3.5 hours out to Battle Mountain. They met us outside of a pizza shop and dropped it off. They picked up my wrecked, totaled motorcycle then. And they took it back to Carson City. We got on the bikes and then we kept going.
You continued straight from the hospital.
Yeah, right from the hospital, dude, on the motorcycles. And then we went to my in-laws, my in-laws' house, stayed the night there, and then got up the next morning and kept going.
This is a great story. I mean, like, you are a big dude. I guess, like, if you won't be that big, like some kind of skinny thing, you're broken in half, you know?
Yeah, they say the muscles are just like, all for looks. And I'm like, yeah, the protection and looks, that's it, just to protect the body from breaking, I guess. I don't know, man.
If you want to keep catapulting from your Harley Davidson into the desert,
it's
a good thing.
This really bridges nicely to my next question, and it was like fitness regime.
Oh, yeah.
so also, yeah, like because I know a few guys who were like okay, so there's some back pain or something, and they can come to the doctor, and the doctor is doing some scans and all these assessments, and they're like, all right, you cannot stop training because your muscle is the only thing they're like taking you together,
holding you
together.
Yeah.
Because like your spine is something. This is like not aligned. This bone is like this and stuff like so. Your muscles are doing the God's work to keeping you together.
Right.
So yeah, like fitness is like multiplicator of all the other things. Also like bike riding, obviously.
Apparently, yeah. No kidding, huh?
I'm curious, not really like about like your current fitness regime, but you can also share that. But when you were as an officer, because like we were dealing here in Slovakia with like officers which are not fit really how they supposed to be, not only like policemen but also like all service members, let's say.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And that is a really nice initiatives of pushing that. So I wanted to ask about how is it in US, like from your experience, like are the people are really pushing hard on their fitness or not really? Because what I can get is just Instagram of this, like, this is like LEO programming, this is like firefighters programming, but are they really doing it, or is it just for people who wanted to be like a policeman? Or
yeah, man, that's a great question. And so, I can't stress on how important fitness is and just everyday life, just when it comes to, when I teach CCW courses to people, concealed carry weapons classes, and I tell people it's like not necessarily, carrying the gun or being the best at something, but it's literally like how you look. It's how you present yourself, is what creates you to not be a victim. Bad guys look for, out of shape or unawareing or just lazy people to make them their victim because they know can get away with it. So that's the first thing of it. So if anything, just do it to like just be a good presentation of yourself to not be a victim. But when it comes to law enforcement, man, there's man, it's not good in the U.S. It's not good at all because there is no mandate.
The stereotype with the donut and stuff like this.
Oh, it's true. It's real. Yeah. No, it's so very real. Yeah, it is. It is. For years, it was. I had been training, man. I can't tell you. Funny. I was probably 2003. 2003. I went to college down in Arizona, and I got stung by a bee. And I used to be allergic to bees, so I got stung by a bee. Went to the doctor. Doctor gave me steroids to combat the allergies. I'm like, oh,
how convenient.
Steroids? Yeah, dude, that's what's up. I'm gonna start working out. And so now all of a sudden I'm taking steroids. Obviously, that's not the same steroids. I didn't know back then. I thought steroids are steroids, So I just started taking steroids for my bee sting, and I'm like, now I'm getting jacked. So that's when I started working out. So it was back then, and ever since then, I really rarely have missed a day at the gym. Maybe one here or there, for family events or whatever, and vacations and stuff. But my training regimen started way before I even went to the academy, and I was working out with another cop who was full time at the time before I was a cop, and we would go usually 2 times a day. And then I turned into, and it was just weightlifting, right? We'd do weightlifting or we do, some running here and there or whatever. But then it turned into, I was like, oh, I want to get into MMA fighting and stuff like that. So this is back 2006. I started getting into MMA. And so then I was doing like 3 times a day because especially if I was training for a fight, most of the time, if I wasn't training to fight, it would be 2 times a day. because one day would be lifting and then another time would be at the gym training. And then it turned into, it's like, hey, I'm gonna start fighting again. So now it's like, okay, so it's like lifting in the mornings, sparring in the afternoons, training in the evenings. And so that continued, and that was like probably some of the best shape of my life. I went from, man, I could cut weight like the top dogs out there. I was like 200 pounds, and I took a fight at 170 30 days later, and I weighed in at 171. Not fun to do by any means, probably not healthy. You guys can comment on how unhealthy that is to do, but I felt great, really. And it was fun, but we implemented, me and one of my buddies actually were able to implement a fitness program to encourage the cops to work out. And it's like, well, how do you encourage Americans to do anything? It's with money. And so we petitioned the city to raise and get a budget. So if you pass the fitness test yearly, or I think it was bi-yearly, we can do it twice a year, you get $1,000 extra every time you pass a fitness test. And then we were able to do, cops complain. They're like, well, I don't have time to work out. It's like, okay, well, we're able to implement an hour a day in your 10-hour shift to actually work out in the gym. Well, then that turned into, well, I can just get off of work an hour early. And so then they end up ruining that program. It's like, dude, come on, man. They just inherently just want to be this lazy because they think the problem with U.S. law enforcement is that like they have this mentality of it's like, well, I'm sure it's here too. But it's like, well, I have a badge and a gun. I don't got to do anything else. You have to listen to me, and it's like, well, no, especially nowadays that has shifted. Like there's no respect for law enforcement anymore because there's no repercussions. You don't see health. There's some really good healthy officers out there. Most of them have Instagram pages now because, they're the few and far between.
Yeah, we still need to speak about the business plan about selling our feed on OnlyFans.
Right. I know, right?
Yeah,
the fireside.
A fire session yesterday evening. So I still have it noted. So
good, perfect. All right, yeah. We can keep that secret, But yeah, no, the U.S. cops. I wish it was a better program. I do think that the more injuries that cops get, or the more encounters and the negative things, it kind of is pushing them in the right direction to be like, hey, I gotta start taking care of myself if I want to live and survive, because for every big dude out there, there's another dude who's bigger. For every experience that you have, or how badass of a fighter you are, there's another dude who's more badass. And you need to have that mentality to make sure that you continue to encourage yourself to get better and get stronger or something. And it goes back to what I said earlier about you're always a student. You can always train. You can always be better. You're never going to reach like, oh, I'm the best at all this stuff, right? That's not a thing. It's not a reality. And if you think it is, then you're wrong. So, training programs, and I'll talk about my current training program. I go to the gym every day. It's a great gym here in Czech Republic. And I usually will start out, like now that it's nice outside, we actually jog to the gym. It's about 1.5 kilometers from the house to the gym, and then 1.5 back. So about 3 kilometers a day on the jog, plus maybe about 10, 15 minutes on a stair stepper or on the air bike. Mm-hmm. But I usually go every single day. I usually try and hit each body part or one body part twice and change it up the next week. So, for example, I'll do like legs and then back and tries and then chest and biceps and then hit shoulders and then hit legs again and then do the routine. So then on Sunday starts the rep of the new week, and then I might be able to hit shoulders twice, right? Because I just did shoulders the last day. Say shoulders, and then I do it for back and triceps and then so on and so forth. But I don't do anything special. I have a huge fault at not being flexible at all, and it's causing tons of problems the older I get. And I need to be better at a good, solid stretching routine. I cannot stress enough how important stretching and flexibility is. Like for any size or any weight or anything else like that, it is by far more important than the strength or being strong or being big or whatever, right? I really believe that being flexible is far more valuable than looking like a big dude, because I'm paying for it like massively. I walk around right now about between 220 and 230, depending on what I'm eating or where I'm at in the world. I'm pretty comfortable. I mean, I'm not in the best shape that I've ever been in by any means, I got, you know, 3 kids and traveling all over the place constantly and stuff like that. So try and get in as much as I can. And I don't have any eating habit. Like I'm not on some sort of diet or anything else like that. Like my diet is, you know, eat food. So, you know, I could definitely do, if I did like a good solid diet, you know, we don't eat trash by any means, you know, except for maybe last night at the fire, little you know, Slovakian junk food, popcorn and bacon chips or something. Yeah. Awesome, by the way. But we don't eat trash, you know, it's like we eat meat, majority of meat all the time, white rice, chicken, you know, vegetables and broccoli and stuff. And occasionally we'll hit the good smash burger in the Czech Republic or something like that. But, you know, for a majority of part, it's just eat healthy, make good choices. You don't have to do like these crazy diets. You know, some of these fitness gurus that are just like, oh, I can't eat that, I got to do this, or I can't have a beer, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. It's like, man, you're not living your life. Life's too short to miss out on good times or beer with a buddy or shots or whatever. Like, you never know, you know, what's gonna. So when there's a fine line between being a fitness freak and enjoying your life and taking care of yourself. You know, this didn't come. I've been like I said, I've been working out consistently since 2003, and it's, you know, 2025. So I'm not very good at math. 22 years.
A lot,
right?
Years.
Like 22 years of consistent lifting and working out and exercising. And I had guys back in Nevada, the kids at the gym, they're like, dude, I'm just trying to look like you. Like, how are you so jacked? So I'm like, I'm really not. I don't picture myself as like the big dude in the gym or the jack dude. I picture myself like the old broken dude, like, honestly, like I could barely walk some days through my back, his feet and everything else like that. But it's like, guys, I tell these kids, I'm like, guys, you don't understand. This doesn't happen overnight. Like, literally, it's 22 years of lifting weights and exercise to look like the way that I do, because people think I look good, I guess. But
yeah,
I mean,
I will try to find a picture for a thumbnail on the YouTube video. That one, like, you are bigger than Tyler. You know?
Yeah,
So for people who are watching us, so you can tell, but for the listeners, so you have the idea. But like, apart from the size, like, still I was surprised when we did that drill, like 90-yard dash and then shooting from 10 meters.
Yeah.
You're fucking fast. Like, apart from the earthquake, you were fucking fast. So it was still like, kudos to that, because, you know, you can be big, but then on the other hand, like, you are gas too quickly, or you cannot run shit. But yeah, so I really like that. And one part of it was a really good result. And also that you join us in doing the drill, even as an instructor. Yeah. We spoke about like you joining as an instructor, the group, it worked tons for the group, and also for the atmosphere of the whole course.
I love that. I love being able to get in the mix and you know, compete with the students and stuff like that. And even if you fail or students beat you, it's like, that's a positive thing to me. There's so many instructors out there that just, they won't compete, or they won't demo, or they won't do something because they're afraid they'll look bad or something. Yeah. You know, I don't know if that's because, like, I just have one feeling and you really can't hurt it anymore. But it's for me, it's like, I'd rather go in and do something with a student and then have a student beat me and show it's like, that's a compliment to me. To, like, honestly, because if I can teach you enough to where you're now faster or better than me, absolutely. And then that tells me, it's like, all right, I need to step my game up. I need to get better and faster, because I can always get better, right? It doesn't matter what we're doing. So I like doing that kind of stuff. You know, I like going out there and then just like, oh, he's fast. Okay, I'm going to beat him. And then I fail, or I mix it, or I miss a shot or whatever else like that. Like, okay, we're doing it again.
Pull a hamstring, but do it again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't care. I'm doing it again. So yeah, that's one of the big things. And if there's instructors or new instructors out there that are looking to do this kind of stuff, I would say, man, get in there with the students. Be confident in your abilities and your, you know, what you do and how you do it. And if you're not confident in what you do and how you do and what you're teaching, probably shouldn't be teaching it. Like, you need to have confidence, you need to have the ability, you need to have the skill to back up the stuff that you're talking about. You know, not just spit it off at the mouth and then watch everybody else do it. But you should definitely be able to teach, instruct, tell people how to do it, and then show them how to do it. And you should be able to show them better than they know how to do it until they practice it. And then if you're teaching them the right way, they'll be able to surpass you and beat you next time.
Hopefully.
Right? That's the goal as an instructor. Yeah. You want to teach people to be better than you. Like if that's not what you're doing that's not what you're teaching people for, then I'm sorry, you're not a good instructor. You shouldn't be an instructor. My goal as an instructor is to teach people to beat me. Like that's what I want them to do. I want them to be better than me, faster, stronger, everything. Honestly, if that happens, then I'm a success. That makes me successful, you know?
True. Like 100% agree.
That's a real teacher mentality, I think, but it takes, I would even dare to say like spiritually advanced individual that already has his ego in control or your ambitions already like accomplished.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I can tell, like even like at the beginning you said you are like not here for the money. You're really like passionate about the thing. So yeah, if you are trying to sell, so then you just don't want your student to be better because they will
they're not going to come back, right? Or something.
So you just want to like feed them enough information to keep them working. But if you want to learn something, so you will like give them your best, and then you tell them like, okay, so and go there and go there and go there, try everything. Maybe you come back, maybe not, but this is what I can give you, and this is what I like about it. So yeah.
It's funny that you say that is because like I've always said to people, like it's not about the money. It's not about it's more about the passion, and just the guys that come out there and they do this as a job and they do it for a living and an income. I understand, I get it, but what's funny is I've always told people, I'm like, this is probably a really poor business model, but I want to teach you to teach yourself, right? Like I've got 3 kids and a wife and all sorts of other stuff going on all over the world. Like I can't be here all the time. As much as I would love to do this as a full-time job, I just can't. So if I could teach you how to do it yourself, it really is a poor business model. But what I've found is I can't say Tyler and I have more returning students to every single course that we go to than most people just get at any regular course. It's crazy. And I can say I have too, just from my experiences here with RDA. And since I've lived in Europe, Tyler unfortunately hasn't been able to be here every single time with us. But from here, it's like, it's crazy to me, the amount of guys that want to come back and do it again, or want to come back and be like, no, I want to do this course again. I'm like, again? They're like, yeah, because every time I do this course with you, I get something new or I get something else out of it. I know it's the same thing, but I get something every time. And that's one thing that we do, and I'm not trying to brag or pitch our courses or anything else like that, but, not one course is ever the same. Tyler and I don't have like a curriculum that we stick to. At 9 a.m. we do this, at 9:30 we do this, and then we do this drill, we do this drill. We really try to tailor our courses to the individuals that are in it. And that's one of the reasons why, like, it's like, all right, let's try this. And like, okay, these guys are switched on, we're going to do this, or they're not, or we need to work with him or slow things down or speed things up. And we have the ability to do that because we're not working under a set curriculum or anything else. So
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Like even this weekend was like, okay, so you saw that we need to work more on the like basic CQB stuff. So okay, let's move around the blocks for a bit, because you wanted, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you just adjust it to the group, and like if you have let's say advanced student or more experienced students, okay. So again, they can take a ton out of it, even if they do these fundamentals, and you will just adjust these small things, and that small thing is like actually a big step in their game. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so Marek, any questions you have on your paper or something? I like as I love to do like this kind of discussion, we need to hit the road. That's the thing. So everybody's traveling home.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this will be like the good point to stop it for today.
Cool. I love it. Yeah, this is great, man. I really appreciate it. And I'd love to be able to do more stuff like this with you guys, or maybe we do like a remote something one of these times or something like that.
You know what we need to do? That campfire session.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
I like that idea. I think
That we definitely need to do sometimes in the summertime.
that might be like explicit, 18 and older.
Yeah. We have one episode which was like parental guidance.
Yeah, exactly.
but yeah, we definitely should do that. But apart from that, Buck, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the whole weekend. Thank you for you coming here regularly. We really
thank you.
It means tons for us to have a friend like you. And really looking forward again, like when we see each other in June. Like
in June. I'll be back in June at the very least for at least 4 days. I'm gonna try and come out maybe for the sniper stuff too, and just hang out and be a part of it. But we'll see how the schedule plays out.
Of course.
But
yeah. So if you guys have any questions or anything, please just comment to the comment section. We will also link up your Instagram and Try Regroup Instagram.
Cool, yeah.
So the people can contact you directly and ask you where around the world will you be. So maybe they can join the course, not here in Slovakia, but probably all around Europe or US when you're coming back there. So that will definitely be in the about section. So again, thank you very much.
Awesome, man.
Yeah,
Thank you
it's
guys.
been an honor, man. Thank you.
Yeah, safe travels and see you next time.
Yeah,
hopefully.
see you guys soon. I appreciate it. Thank you
Bye,
guys.
guys. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye. So do I do the clap and the count?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
We are on.
You like to clap and count? Go ahead.
Clapping count.
Clapping cunts.